Another basketball season is in the books, and what a final it was. Villanova, North Carolina battled all the way to the buzzer in what was one of the best games, not only in tournament history, but in college basketball history altogether. Chris Jenkins' buzzer beater lifted the Wildcats by 3 over UNC, and the crown of the top team in the country returns to the Big East. Jay Wright's squad ran through the Big Ten, ACC, and Big 12 to win their second national title in program history, the first since 1985. And with the victory, the ringing new and old are no more. When the best basketball conference is brought into conversation, it was, is, and will remain the Big East. For baseball, Rob Shepard's crew earned him his 340th career win to tie him second all-time in Seton Hall history with the namesake of their home field, Owen T. Carroll. The name you would expect to be the kiss of death in the Pirates' rotation may be Shane McCarthy, but in 2016, Colin Dana has exploded onto the scene with an undefeated record and 1.2 ERA. Those two, along with Zach Prendergast and Zach Skellinger, make up a pitching staff, all who have earned Big East Pitcher of the Week awards. But does this team have the bats to back up their elite arms? With their first conference series being against Creighton in Omaha, this could be the toughest test for Seton Hall thus far in the season. And for Seton Hall softball, they are set to begin Big East play as well. Already having earned 19 wins, the Pirates took a brief break but are back to conference play and resume on the road against Villanova, who they are a half game behind in Big East standings. With 14 of their 19 wins coming from freshman Madison Strunk, Paige Smith looks to take her ladies back to the Big East tournament as it begins this weekend. I'm your host, George Bilecki. We'll be right back after this. This is Hall Talk.
This team needs to show me something for me to believe that they're going to make a run in the tournament.
I think they can have a chance of going over 35 wins without a problem.
Just stepping up from the 4 points to the 17. She's just dropping threes like there's no tomorrow.
But chemistry is an underrated key in college basketball.
That was by far the best game I've seen them play.
This is Hall Talk, and that's how the chalk talks.
Welcome back to our Pirate Television studios. I'm your host, George Bilecki, and now introduce my panel, Aaron Ross, Brian McInerney. Guys, it's a big week in Big East sports for Villanova, big week in Seton Hall sports coming up for baseball and softball as well. We got a lot to cover. We start off, of course, Villanova and North Carolina, an instant classic. Marcus Page ties it up with the 3 on a double clutch with 4 seconds remaining. Chris Jenkins, one of the most underrated players in the country, shows how important he is to that team. But for this team altogether, that's how they got there, Brian. I mentioned how they had a tough road. Miami, Iowa, Kansas, all top teams. Oklahoma, the best player in the country, arguably. They took them all down to bring home the most important trophy.
Absolutely. You know, this is the first time ever we've ever seen something like this. Beating North Carolina, another 1 seed. Then to beat Kansas, another 1 seed. Then Oklahoma and Miami, all top 10 seeds, all top 10 ranked by the end of the year. First time we've ever seen this ever happen in the NCAA tournament.
And Aaron, they look at the defense, what it's done. They hold a guy like Buddy Hield to 9 points in the Final Four game. Someone like Bryce Johnson, he finished with 14 points, but the paint altogether was locked off. It wasn't just Daniel Ochefu, it was all the guys getting involved there.
And you mentioned Ochefu. It's just crazy to see someone like Bryce Johnson, and for me, always been a big Tar Heel fan, but Bryce Johnson, I thought could have possibly beat out Buddy Hield for Best Player of the Year because the way that man can jump, shoot from anywhere on the court, and he's just a force on the inside down in the paint. And Villanova just really locked him down. I mean, he had kind of an off shooting night, but then you see Chris Jenkins at the very end of the game. Didn't even cover the guy. He's probably the best shooter on Villanova. As a sleeper, the best shooter, because, you know, they always think of Archie Diacono. You think of Josh Hart. Chris Jenkins wide open there. I don't understand that.
The team, they do all the little things right. That's what brings home a trophy.
Well,
They got
exactly.
all the experience.
Yeah, they talked about it in the end press conference, talking about the play itself, how Jenkins inbounded it, and the whole play was Diacono with the ball, bring it up with Archie, and then you have 3 options up in front of you. But Jenkins just, nobody expected it. And you
Walked
saw
up the whole court by himself
You saw
without
Roy
anyone near
Williams
him.
just almost crying on air, explaining, he's like, I can't believe I had anybody cover Jenkins. And we know how solid he is when he has open space. So,
Of course, he shows how lethal he is right there. For a quick question, this is big for the Big East. We talk about it, Aaron, for you and me being seniors. Our freshman year, Louisville won the national tournament last year with the old Big East. Villanova, of course, bringing the crown, and what is the new alignment is. For Jay Wright, does he make that step not to another college program to the next level in the NBA, Bryant?
well, we've seen him have just success almost everywhere he's gone. You know, from Long Island May, I know Hofstra. He was fantastic at Hofstra.
Yeah.
Won coach of the conference his 2 last times at Hofstra. Then moves over to Villanova. He has a fantastic record there. He has 2 Coach of the Year awards in NamUs. Then he has 5 Big East Coach of the Year awards, and then with a record of 354 wins in total. That's fantastic. So I think if he does move up, I could see a good chance for him in the NBA.
See, for me, I feel like he could go up just because of the success he's had. He's had incredible consistency in the college level, especially at Villanova. You see him, they're always a top 10 team almost every single year, always an NCAA tournament team. But I think he likes being at Villanova a lot. He likes how he's actually called. He's one of the top dogs of the Big East Conference now. People look at him as the dean of the Big East, so I think he's starting to like that role. He likes to call himself new, but I think Jay Wright's going to stay at Villanova.
Certainly, of course, having a Final Four finish in 2009, along with the paycheck that comes along being the head coach, he has no
Doesn't
reason
hurt.
to leave. Yeah, he said perfect right there. So we stay within, and we stay within the Big East. We now move over to baseball. It's finally season began. MLB season began earlier this week, but college baseball has been well underway. And for the Pirates, they got their 21st win yesterday in Rob Shepard's crew. He got his 340th career win, second all-time in program history. He has a lot to be working with this season, though, especially with Cullen Dana, the freshman, a 1.2 ERA, 5-0 on the year, and then Prendergast, and along with McCarthy as well for that unit. They have so much power, so lethal. Can the bats back them up? They have a big test coming up against Creighton.
Now, for me, I think it's all about consistency for this team when you're talking about the bats, because pitching, Shepard's always known to have a team with fantastic pitching. But I think it's for the bats, they have to be super consistent and get going. As of late, they have been fantastic. Jenkins has finally gotten going, as just the other day got an inside the park home run. Could have been off an error or not, but still, he is lethal on the base path, leading the nation in steals right now, and only thrown out. He rarely gets thrown out. So I think this team really, if they get on base, they can't be stopped.
Now, for Brian, he talks about the base running. They need to get on base. It'll help them out, put pressure on the Creighton pitchers. As a unit, they average 2.3 ERA. That's one of the best top 6 in the country. Yes. This is when the biggest test comes in. It's finally Big East play for them. They're ready to get tested. And Creighton consistently is a cream of the crop. Pirates have to show themselves now.
Oh, exactly. Well, a little bit on the base path. 29 steals for Derek Jenkins. That's fantastic. He can't. And then he has, I believe, 99 in total. 99 total for his career. And then just on top of that, this team's finding ways to get on the base path. Not even just with the bats. They're finding a way by walking. Zach Weigel has 20-plus walks this year, and he's one of 3 Pirate players that have about 20-plus walks this year. And then just talking about the big hitters on the team, Mike Alessio with a 2.93 average and then a 3.73 slugging percentage. On top of that, Zach Weigel again with a above 250 average, and then Chris Sciarrotto with a 271 average. They can get on the bases, and their bats are swinging right now, so I can see some good things.
I think this is a team that really enjoys getting up to the plate and hitting. Obviously, like I said before, they're known as a pitching team, Seton Hall. But I think this Seton Hall team, when they lost DJ Ruhlman recently, who's gone on graduating, and now you got a guy like Zach Weigel who just gets up there and he's just looking at the ball, thinking it's a beach ball. He wants to hit that thing. You got Moog stepping in as a perfect batter right now in the slugging slot. As a cleanup hitter, he is come in perfectly. So I think this team really, they can get on base. It's, like I said, it's consistency. They can do it, and it'll rough up Creighton, and it'll get them flustered.
Now, this is a team. You look at what their infield was. There's a big change up on their starters. Aside from Chris Sciarrotto, who's at shortstop this year, from at first base, Sal Nunziata, now Mikhail Ali Mogs, as you mentioned, along with Caputo at second base, and at third, Podoslanko as well. What does it mean? Like, what is everything that they're piecing together? It's such a changeover, but they're still so elite. But have they been tested out of conference? Beating Quinnipiac, beating Wagner, not the opponents you want to prepare you for Creighton.
See, I don't think they've been tested quite like Creighton. They've played more games, so they've got a little more experience this season. But I don't know if they've necessarily been tested quite like Creighton, especially. But I think it's a fantastic way to start the Big East by going out to a place like Omaha, where you see the College World Series. So it'll get their juices flowing right away.
No, absolutely. And then just going back to the last match against Quinnipiac, 14 runs on the board, 14 hits for the team. They beat them in a rout. They're getting the bats flying right now. And that's what you want to walk right into with this record, with this team. And then, we're talking about the Creighton pitching, and you're saying, can you compare? You can't really ever compare, except you have somebody else in the top 5 in the pitching with that ERA. But Seton Hall has the weapons to go right back at them. So this can be a very interesting battle to see because McCarthy, Cullen, all the big guys. It's going to be interesting to see the 2 big pitching staffs go right at it.
So I'll be seeing this week. And I don't think it's actually going to come down to the bats this weekend in Omaha either. I think it will be a pitching duel the entire time to see if they can keep it up. I was on the call a few weeks ago for the Pirate Sports Network with a Shane McCarthy game. His second straight win. He went a shutout, complete game, matched his career high in 11 strikeouts in back-to-back games. I think that young man has a way to pitch right now, and he comes out attacking. He's an aggressive pitcher, throwing nothing but strikes. So I think it's going to come down to that. It'll be a pitcher's duel out in Omaha.
Last 9 meetings between these two programs, of course, Creighton's won 7 of them, but 5 of those coming by 2 runs or less. As you said, everything's a
Tight
pitching
games.
meet. Yeah, whoever has the bats to wake up, their pitchers will show up.
Exactly.
Now, for the other diamond, you go right across the way, and there's Mike Shepard's senior field. And for softball, they have the push now. Valerie Sudo leading them in batting, Yasmin Harrell as well, and they come off the back in the pitching of Madison Strunk. This team already has 19 wins. They finished with 25 last year. Do they have the same to make that push to the Big East tournament final where they fell to St. John's last season?
It's a real up and down team at 19-19 right now, but it's good going into Big East play that they can have the fight for it, but I don't know if they quite have the pitching for it because really all they have is Madison Strunk. Krista Head's kind of been an inconsistent one. And, you know, Alexis Walkden hasn't quite been the player she was last year. She had quite a few more home runs her freshman year. So far, she's only got 5 this year, but she's still leading the team with 30 RBIs. But Valerie Sudo in the leadoff spot this year didn't play as much last year we talked about before. She's been great. Probably their best hitter so far this year. You're talking consistency-wise. So I think this team, they have the potential to make the run if they can get the bats flowing.
She's made a progress. You know, she used to just be effective when she gets on base, but not always able to get onto base by her base running. Now
she's
she
able to
finally
get
puts
herself
it all
there.
together. Yeah.
Yeah, and talking about both diamonds, you know, we talk about the men's team with just the package that they could put out with their pitching staff. And then we go back over to softball, and, you know, Lauren Fisher and Krista Heed both have over a 4.0 ERA. And when it comes down to it, pitching wins games. You know, you can keep on running up the score, but you know for a fact that you need quality pitching to keep on going back and forth, and they're not getting it, and that's why they have the record like this.
Yeah, they're not quite getting it all. It keeps coming down. You know, Madison Strunk, she'll come out of a game, they have a doubleheader, and then she'll end up coming back into the same game because the other pitchers just aren't getting it done, and they're not getting the run support for the other ones that are coming in. They're letting up more runs.
And it shows right on the stat sheet, 150 innings pitched, far exceeds anyone else on that staff altogether.
By far.
For the series, Brian, I'll start with you for Creighton. What's it going to be the total between Seton Hall and Creighton for the men's side for baseball?
In total, I think Creighton's going to edge them out with the 2-1 series victory. I think with that pitching staff, but I really think it's going to be a rubber match. I think it's going to be a 1-1. I think, and then you guys, you know, Colin Dana is finishing off the series, so it's going to be an absolute heated up. He's in the second game of the series, so it's going to be a heated battle. It's going to be a heated battle to see those 2 pitching staffs going. But I think Creighton's going to edge them because when you have a top 6 ranked pitching staff, that's a hard thing to go against.
Hard to beat.
Hard thing.
See, for me, I think it comes down to what happens on Friday, the first game of the series. That'll set the tone for the rest of the series. But I think, regardless, it's going to be a 2-1 series. I'm not sure. It comes down to the first one. I'm going to root for Seton Hall, of course, but I think if the pitchers can come out and the bats are flowing, I think Seton Hall will get it. 2-1.
All right, guys, so we have a big weekend ahead. Good week in conclusion, a great season conclusion for the Big East as well for basketball.
Oh, yeah.
Finally baseball time. Good to be outside, right?
Finally. Hopefully we can get some spring weather soon. It's got cold lately.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. For George Bilecki, Aaron Ross, Brian McInerney, this concludes this week of Hall Talk. Catch all our coverage every week. And for baseball, first pitch Friday evening, 7:30 Eastern Time from Omaha, Nebraska. You catch all the coverage on 89.5 FM, WSOU. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll catch you guys next week.